Let me start with the topic of what I say an almost religious tension, because it wasn't religious tension yet. Through the Interior Ministry, the IGP has had to convey a dialogue on this particular matter. Why are we here?
I think that we have indeed made some progress, and Ghana has an enviable situation when you look at our geographical location in the world. If you look at the top 10 nations that are affected by terrorism all over the world, they are all in our four of them, the top 4 of them are all in our sub-region. And then we have a unique situation where countries around us, if you take Burkina Faso, for example, does not control parts of its territory. But Ghana has a unique situation where we control all our territories, 100%. And we are one of the most peaceful countries anywhere in the world. I think that oasis of peace that we are must be protected at all costs. And things that seek to threaten that peace must be dealt with. So the occurrences within the period, as you said, almost looking like a religious tension of a sort, are very unfortunate. I don't think that there is anyone who desires a situation where on religious basis we start going at each other. And one important thing I want to underscore as well is the hasty generalizations that often characterize these events. We are a population of over 33 million people. We are made up of Muslims, Christians, traditional religion, and some other minor religions that we may not necessarily mainstream in conversations. When incidents happen, then you begin to hear people saying that this sect is like this, that sect is like this, ignoring the fact that there is an overwhelming millions of other people belonging to one set or the other who have not conducted themselves in a particular way. I think that those sort of narratives are what exacerbate, circumstances that are minor but consequential, but could be dealt with. Then they, highlight them in a manner that becomes unbecoming. Because the conversations I saw on social media around these matters, people pointing fingers to one group pointing fingers to the other, because individuals of those groups have conducted themselves in a certain manner. I think that going forward, we must consciously, look at how we put out these sort of conversations. Then when it comes to religious leadership as well, yesterday, the Honorable Minister for the Interior, Honorable Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak, met the National Muslim Conference at the National Mosque. Today, he will be meeting leadership of the Christian faith as well. And the conversation part of it centered on us ensuring that those who mount pulpits all across have a clear understanding of our peculiar socio-political situation, so that certain utterances which may lead to inflammations and which may lead to conflicts that were threatened in these recent days do not come up. And that is also very, very important that we look at it. The people who preach to people in this country, what are the sort of things they are saying? Are they things that would enhance the peace of the country? We need to look at that. Then on the particular incident that happened, at the police headquarters, the last time when I was speaking to GH1, I said that if those of us in leadership will be trusted to deal with these issues, we must admit, first of all, that what happened there was disgraceful. It was embarrassing for the state that we have a situation where a person under custody, one way or the other, civilians had access to that person and were seen in the video questioning the person. I think that is unfortunate on our side, and it is disgraceful on the side of the state. We must admit that plainly. There is no debate about it.
Come again on that.
I said that, as a state, it is disgraceful that happened. We must admit it plainly if the public is going to trust the state to deal with these issues. There is no debate about that incident being something that should not occur at all. Because when people are arrested and they are in the hands of law enforcement, it is their personal liberty that is temporarily restricted. All other rights are preserved under law. And it is the duty of the persons who hold them in detention to preserve and protect those rights. And so if there is a breach and there's an interference with those rights, I think that it is something that we must admit that is improper. it is for that reason that the minister has made consequential directives. That he wants to have, and I think that the IGP is looking into the matter, he wants to have a clear understanding and finding by the IGP investigating those matters on how the civilians, first of all, had access. Those civilians who had access, we saw that the person who was seen in the viral video was arrested. Our law allows for persons who are suspected to be, be in a situation where they would cause a breach of the peace, to be bonded, to be of good behavior. Those individuals have been bonded to be of good behavior going forward. But we want to still fully understand the full circumstances under which civilians had access to the individual in the first place. That must be investigated and brought to the conclusion. The Ghanaian people want answers on that. We want to secondly understand which people were on duty who were supposed to be responsible for ensuring that this breach did not happen. The minister wants that investigation concluded and sanctions, meted out where appropriate. The minister also wants the supervising officers of those people queried on the matter. And so those are the three-layered investigations that the minister has directed.
Has it started?
The IGP, yes, the IGP is dealing with that. I think that according to the official communication that was sent to the IGP, the deadline for responding to the initial issues was, I think, last week. So investigations into the particular officer is supposed to commence after the IGP's own initial response. So we are very focused on maintaining the peace of this country. Beyond that, the minister's message yesterday, I'm sure that parts of it would be later put in the media, is that there would be no discrimination whatsoever when it comes to, consequences for breach of the law, for threatening the public order of the country. We will not look at whether you are a Shintoist, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Christian. There will be no such considerations when it comes to dealing with people who threaten the peace of this country. We are not going to look at any face, we are not going to look at any considerations beyond the fact that the laws of this country have been broken. There are people who want to threaten the peace of this country, and those people must be brought to book. It's as simple as that. I think the minister will be repeating that message today when he meets, the leadership of the Christian community.
So yesterday he met with the Muslim community.
Yes. There will be no such discrimination on the basis. There will be no such thing when it comes to dealing with, disruption of public order. We are not going to allow few elements to destroy the peace that we have built over the period. And we can all admit that religious leadership has contributed significantly to maintaining the peace in this country. And so if we have few elements who, for religious basis, want to disrupt that peace, there must be a clampdown. Take the National Chief Imam, for example. There is nobody in Ghana who can deny his significant role in always bridging, gaps, bringing people together, ensuring that there is a national focus, there's a national identity. If you look at the individual of the National Chief Imam, he has transcended being the leader of one religious sect. He has become an embodiment of our Ghanaian uniqueness, our Ghanaian, coexistence, our peaceful, solidarity as a people with one destiny. And so when we have elements within, the various religions who for one reason or the other want to foment trouble for us, we must not look at those religious beings, because if we have examples like himself, who is a religious leader that has transcended that into a national symbol, then I think that is what we should all be emulating. It's the same thing when it comes to Christian leadership. We have our leaders who have now embodied, what is essentially the national setup of our country, our diversity and all of that. So there's no room whatsoever for people who want to foment trouble. The whole idea that if you belong to one set, majority, minority, we don't look at those narratives. We are all Ghanaians, first of all, before any other identity. Ghana is governed by the 1992 constitutions and laws made by the parliament of this republic. There is no other law. We don't have Christian laws in Ghana. We don't have Muslim laws in Ghana. And so people who preach particular laws and encourage people to go and act according to those laws, which are not the laws of Ghana, we are not going to accept any of those things. So I think that message would be the key highlight.
What really started, I'm going to have to take you back a little bit for clarity. What really now reduced the conversation to who was in a certain picture and who was not in a certain picture? How did that even start? And what's the clarity we need?
I think that the incident, I was with your sister station, Adum, earlier in the week. That whole conversation is very unfortunate, because I think that we all have a responsibility to ensure that every information we put out there is credible.
Prior to that, have you seen that picture on social media?
Yes, but you see, when you go on the police page, okay, anytime police arrest people in Ghana, we all know that it is a norm for them to blur the faces of the individuals. It is in rare circumstances that they don't do that. For example, when the people themselves come to the police station and turn themselves in, or it is very rare circumstances that they don't do that, or situations where the arrest itself is characterized by a situation where the public has already viewed the individual that is involved, or sometimes the people are so high profile that by the time they are arrested, everybody knows who has been arrested, etc. But time without number, we all know that the norm is that the police blur the face of individuals who they have arrested.
Agree.
So if the police post a picture on their social media pages with the face of the individual totally blurred, then we see on social media people say that they have used AI to unmask the person, to remove, the blur that the police have put over there and say that it's a different individual. I think that we should all, discard that
beyond the misinformation and just people trying to be sinister. What does it bring to the table about confidence in the police and all of that? Because in the past, you hardly see that a person will use AI to want to attack.
This whole thing started with, I think that some people who have voice in our society should also exercise a bit of responsibility. And this is not me trying to attack anybody.
Okay.
I have deep personal respect for Oliver Barker-Vormawor. This whole thing started with him when he went on his social media to say that in Ghana they don't arrest big men and that the individual will not be arrested. That's when this whole thing started with him. But in Ghana, is it true that in Ghana they don't arrest big men? Chachuchi Kata was arrested. Chemawu to me is a big man. He has been arrested. People are arrested in Ghana. So that whole narrative that in Ghana they don't arrest big men and so the person will not be arrested, that was what started the whole thing. So Oliver Barker-Vormawor, with all respect to him, is the one who started what eventually became a disinformation campaign to further erode the trust of the public in the Ghana Police Service. It was pursuant to his statements that when the police made the post on social media, then people started saying that, they are going to unmask the person that the police... But if a picture is taken of you, MFR, the face is blurred, and I put it in ChatGPT or any of these AI apps to unmask you, it will try to, as closely as possible, as its, algorithms and indices suggest to it, what is behind the picture. That's what it will try to do. It will not accurately bring your face.
Okay.
And so that is what happened. Someone says they use AI to unmask the individual who was arrested and then put it out there that it is not the individual. And because, prior to that, you have someone with a large audience as Oliver Barker-Vormawor telling the people that the actual person will not be arrested. People were minded to accept that narrative. It became more unfortunate, and this is not me trying to attack the media or anything. I mean, in my role, I deal with the media every day, so I'm minded not to attack the media. But it became very. Oh, of course, this is not me trying to attack the media. I will not do that.
Let's see the comment before we know whether it's an attack.
You know that it is not. This is not me trying to attack them. But it is very unfortunate when media platforms that have gathered credibility for years use their platforms to advance what is essentially disinformation.
Let me explain a little something. Once I understand that, let me explain a little something. Almost about 50 or 40% of some of the things we bring to the fore are conversations in the public.
Yes.
Because you speak for that ministry, at that particular point in time, you're the most authoritative person. You just confirm or debunk, and then that's it. It doesn't necessarily bring to bear the quality of journalist or journalism at that time.
I'm not questioning.
Did you understand what I mean?
I understand what you mean. I'm not
because
questioning.
It required that amount of attention, because as you said, a reputable person, we all have had to reference Oliver. That's why they said it.
Yeah, so, I'm not questioning the quality of journalism. I'm questioning why an error of that magnitude was allowed to happen. Because I think that at the inception, there should be a check that would necessarily bring to the conclusion, no, this is an AI. And also, secondly, when the police put a picture out, which is in a particular manner, and the media is presenting it, which is in a different manner, a different form altogether, it is important that the media answers the question, where that different form is coming from. It is important that the media answers that question. That is why I feel that it is highly unfortunate that we have a situation where the media was pushing that AI-generated, image. There is already some level of apprehension when it comes to the work of the Ghana Police Service. But if you work closely with the police, you realize that it's a serious institution that people take them. The police will not, under any circumstance, go and arrest a different person and present it to the public as another person. This is not going to happen, that the police will do that. So the fact that people are able to feed this information to the public, to make them believe that the Ghana Police Service is deceiving them, I think the media should have taken that issue more seriously and done a background check before they advance.
I'd go to Mr. Money, but when I have time and I come back to you, because you have invited me to the quality of police service, you initially also mentioned that we're trying to investigate how people had access to the police service. So we also agree that it could be flaws.
Of course, there could be flaws, but flaws to the extent that the police would arrest a different person and present it to the Ghanaian public as another person.
But civilians had access to the police, the police station,
you see,
did they not?
That is one thing. If you listen to me from the outset of this conversation, I had stated clearly that it is a national embarrassment. We should accept it fair.
Okay, let me go to Mr.
That is a problem. We must accept that. But to think that the police would deliberately go and arrest a different person, present it to the Ghanaian public as another person, that's scandalous. And if you are going to put out a scandal of that magnitude, diligence requires that you verify it. And
let me go to Mr. Money.
Sources to the Ghanaian people that this is the source.
Okay.
That I have this.
Mr. Money, surely you followed this particular matter, and it's also just broken it into two parts where nearly the peace of our country, people will say it was threatened. I take it quite serious because if you read stories about Nigeria, you really will not say that an almost tension is a tension. And we won't look at it with a small, lens. So I want to hear from you.
MFL, let me admit that the media is a human institution. And like all human institutions, perfection is an impossible goal. So as a media system, we have imperfections. But the imperfection of the media relative to this issue is minuscule as compared to the perpetration of violence in the police headquarters. If you are arrested and you are sent to a police hospital, your safety is guaranteed. But by mere fact that the police headquarters is protected, we have security men who do everything possible. Even the mere persons will force you to shy away from committing a crime. But how come that somebody who has been arrested, was exposed to public attack? In fact, this is an issue which requires the highest investigation, the most thorough investigation, and people who show laxity in enforcing the rules, enforcing safety, enforcing law and order. In fact, the law should deal surgically with such people. We've been told that the law be applied and will not be swayed. The application of the law will not be swayed by religious sentiment. This is coming from the Ministry of the Interior. Fine statement. We also need to spray a perfume of commendation on the IGP for acting swiftly on this issue. But the fact remains that those who allowed certain men to gain access to this suspect, to the extent of molesting him at the police headquarters, this is something which boggles their mind, something which should cause the whole police institution to bow down their heads in shame. We need to follow as a media system, follow how this matter will end. And this should serve as an example. Never again should the police allow their institution to be used as an avenue for the perpetration of crime. This also reinforces the need, what is happening, reinforces the need for us to deepen interfaith dialogue. Ghana has been described as an island, an ocean of interfaith conflict, religious conflict. If you look at what's happening in Nigeria, jihadists, having a field day. If you go to Mali, Burkina Faso, it can't be compared to what's happening in this country. These are warning signs that we are not immune from such religious disaster. If action is not taken to nip this issue in the bud, we need to deepen interfaith dialogue. We need to offer MFR also social action. Initiate more social action between Muslims and Christians and followers of other faiths. We also need to allow the chief imam to influence as many people as possible. The chief imam is a specimen of, is a unique specimen of humanity. We haven't seen his ilk in this country since independence. Chief imam is a signboard of unity. It's also a signpost of peace. So chief imam, and it's interesting, it's very significant. His office has come out to condemn this incident and reassuring, the office also reassured Ghanaians that they will not support anything which can liken to religious disturbance. So again, IGP you've done well by instituting investigation in this matter and holding with the spirit of light discussion among Christians and Muslims. But that should not end here. We expect action to be taken. We are in the dispensation of the rule of law, and in such dispensation, anyone who willfully finds himself on the wrong side of the law should be made to taste the biting edge of the law. So we expect the law to bite, and bite hard at those who went to a police headquarters to perpetrate violence in the full glare of the public.
Let me come to you, Kwesi. Just when you decided to read a newspaper.
No, you don't want me to read a newspaper.
Yeah. Let's talk about this matter. Yeah, I'm certain that you've been following this.
Yes. So I was counseled to the pastor, and so I have first-hand information in all that happened, and I'm also privileged to know the facts surrounding this very situation. But I'll resist the temptation of turning this conversation into a Christian-Muslim tussle. I would say it was a tussle between two individuals. It wasn't a Christian and Muslim issue. This is a very sensitive matter. And so I will call for restraint in discussing this very matter because, like Julius mentioned, we live in a country where we are surrounded by countries that have been invaded by extremists and terrorists. And if you read and look at the history, there's a pattern on how all these things start. And so we have to be very careful about some of these matters because there are several workers of iniquity sitting on the fence of this nation waiting to inflame some of these things. And like Julius is aware, some of these things should not just be seen as a light matter. It is not something that should be treated with kid gloves. It is a very serious and it is a very sensitive matter. But before I proceed, I would want to make a suggestion to Julius. He speaks for the ministry. And you know, as secretary to the Defense and Interior Committee of the MPP, I will make a suggestion to him that when matters of this nature happen, he should be slow on his media engagement. Because if you look at the tensions that was even at the police station on the day of the event while I was watching him on, I watched him on Joy News in the morning, and later I was watching him on one of the stations in the police station. And if you look at the tension that was there, I think that maybe next time, this is just a friendly suggestion to him, he should hasten slowly when some of these highly sensitive security matters come up. Because I am aware that so many things were done behind the scenes that wasn't put in the public domain. And if you care to know, on the day of the incident, that very morning, I was on show with council. After the show, I had to go for a meeting. I was at a meeting when a top clergy within the Christian Council called me that this is what had transpired and wants me to represent the pastor. Initially, I was a bit hesitant that, hey, what has happened? Because I had not seen the video. But when I go to the police station, I saw several pastors there. I saw several imams there. And so I realized that this is a matter that demands tact and not law. And so I quickly engaged the police commander, who was extremely professional. And let me single him out for a mention. I don't know his rank, but Seth Sewono. I think he is the commander for the in charge for the Special Investigations Unit. He's a great, fantastic police officer. Because if you look at how he managed the situation and, considering the public uproar that came with everything, I think that he managed the situation quite well. And so let's be very mindful and careful in the media when we comment about some of these things. Again, I also do not think that this matter, I know Julius's boss, the minister, is calling for an investigation and, for this matter to be brought to its logical conclusion and all that. But I would rather prefer that this matter is dealt with backdoor. Let's not push for prosecutions. Let's not push for, people to be dealt with. I agree that when people offend the law, when people fall short of the law must take its course. I am totally aligned on this. But I think that considering the sensitive nature of this matter, and number two, considering the fact that the IGP found it necessary to convene a meeting between the Islamic Council, the Christian Council, and the Peace Council to settle this matter and to bring, some calmness to this matter. I think that the wisdom of the IGP and in calling that meeting should at least reduce the tensions in this country. But initiating prosecutions might regenerate more tensions because, sincerely, my client, the pastor, has a lot to say. I have advised him not to go into the issues in the media, not to be visiting one station to the another, because media people would want to speak to him and all that. Even regarding the picture that was put out and all that, I think that, again, let's hasten slowly. Because on the matter of the picture, and sincerely, the public and the media has no obligation to swallow whatever the police or any other law enforcement agency tells them hook, line, and sinker. It is the duty of the media to interrogate some of these issues. And so if people have reasonable suspicions about a certain matter, I think that workers of the Ministry of Interior and officials of the Ministry of Interior should rather take these things as feedback and not to be seen to be pushing their narrative, on the media or pushing their narrative out there. Because for people to actually have the apprehension that this is not the person in question, you should rather call for an investigation. That if this is not the person, then the police should, investigate the matter and, but you shouldn't be seen to be having confrontations with media practitioners who have reasonable suspicion to believe that something is not the case, because this is a highly sensitive matter. And so, MFA, I would not say much on this matter.
That's not much.
I would not go into the details of this matter, MFA, because, you see, religious leaders have a role to play. We live in a country where day in, day out, if Julius will be very sincere to the public, I don't want to say that our peace is being threatened, but we live in a country where, if you consider what is happening in the sub-Saharan region, you would know that we have to be careful about some of these things. And some of these things should not be treated as though it is just a fight between Christians and Muslims. There is no fight between Christians and Muslims. There is no fight.
Absolutely.
At the police station, I met with several imams. In fact, they offered me drink and water, except that day I was fasting and so I didn't take it. But we live in a very harmonious society. We are one people. I engaged Imam Angola. We had very, friendly conversation. He was at the police station. He was under detention. The pastor was also there. So I think that let's commend the police. Let's commend the police for handling this matter with tact, and let's also condemn them for allowing whatever happened in the video to happen. But MFA, I'll land here.
Okay, let me go to Lom. And If I still have time, but I have to go around. He had invited Julius to a certain advice. We'll see whether Julius wants to take that advice.
It was a suggestion. Julius is a big man.
We'll see.
Julius is a big man. You go and set me up in the on social media to say I'm advising him. He's a big man.
No, suggestion.
It's a suggestion.
Even when you advise somebody, don't forget that an advice is a suggestion as well, because advice does not come to your head to take it. Let me moderate this now. Let me moderate this.
I welcome the suggestion.
Let me moderate this
conversation. Let it be on record that I welcome.
You can let your social media people know.
I welcome the suggestion.
You work with a powerful government.
What is this obsession between the two of them? I just wonder.
Welcome your suggestion.
Okay. I'll come round. Let me So I mean, if I hear Kwesi, it definitely invites me to look at this with a deeper lens. One, I can't help but say that video that went on social media, the Ministry of Interior, even as a journalist, when I was doing that story on the midday bulletin, I would go heaven on earth to want to speak to the Interior to give me an explanation to why civilians had access to that.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Then as well, I cannot also pretend about the role religion plays in our politics in this country.
Absolutely.
So I hear both of them. But I see as there's religion and there's definitely a certain criminality which we'll definitely invite the Interior to talk about. But let me hear from you, and then we'll come back for some rebuttals if there's need.
Sam, if I are very right, and to be honest with you, I think that perhaps because of social media and we've been exposed to a lot of, if I should say, information, sometimes we tend to take things that are pretty simple and straightforward and make them into big things. In other words, a storm in a teacup. For example, you see this issue about the picture. In the video, we see the person who slapped him. In fact, even if you pause the video, you see the person. You don't need AI to unmask anybody. So, for example, like if Ghana police has issued a statement and puts, or on their social media, they've put a picture and marks them. As far as I'm concerned, the video is there. I can see the man. I can see the man, and who they have posted, I can see if it's the person or not. If they have decided to cover the face as they usually do, that's fair enough. But the whole Ghana who has seen that video has already seen the person. In fact, not only him, all the people in that video, we should be able to tell subsequently when they are being prosecuted whether it is those people or not. So for me, there shouldn't be any back and forth and issues about who it was and not, because the video is clear. The pertinent issue that raises is how the civilians get access to the person. Because when you are you have been arrested, essentially you are now the charge of the state. The police have charge over you, they have custody over you, and they control everything about you, where you will be placed and all of that. So there's no circumstance under which civilians should have had access to the person. And the police have acknowledged that the Interior Ministry has already stepped in front of that to say, let's get to the bottom of it, because somebody will be the arresting officer, somebody will be the commanding officer, all of that. So when the investigation is done, we'll see what happens. But as far as I'm concerned, there should be some consequence, because that's the only way in which things like this will stop. Because there should be no circumstance where civilians would have had access to this person to be able to do anything, even question to the point of even hitting him and all of that. And when we narrow it down to that focus, then we don't even need to go into the religious aspect of it. But I understand why the minister will call for a dialogue, or for the IGP to even, based on the minister's instruction, have a sit down with religious leaders. Because you see, in other countries and what we've seen, religious tensions are not triggered by necessarily big things. Sometimes a very small thing, a small spark, can lead to something significant. And in this case, we know that the person was arrested because of comments that related to religion. At the same time, we also know that per the laws of Ghana, no citizen has a right to take the law into their own hands. So if the person has been arrested as a pastor for whatever he said, and of course Kwesi is here as his lawyer, they are going to do what they have to do to defend him and deal with the case and all that. And if he's not guilty, he will also be acquitted and discharged. However, the person who hit him also doesn't have a right to do so, because you don't have the right to take the law into your own hands. So he also will be arrested for that and will be prosecuted, and that should be the end of it. But in the meantime, the dialogue can continue the consultations can continue just to bring down any potential tensions that could have escalated, because we know that it is religion and or religious issues can easily get out of hand. But for me, I want to see it as a very simple, straightforward matter. The person who has been arrested is supposedly being tried under the same sections that, you know, the TikTokers and the, party communicators and so on have been in recent times, which we have all been talking about. You have a right to say anything, but don't say anything that will exacerbate a situation to lead to a potential breach of the peace. If the elements of that offense have been made out, obviously you'll be convicted. If not, you'll be acquitted and discharged. The same way, you can't assault somebody under any circumstance. You don't have a right to use force against somebody unless you are within the permitted exceptions. And this clearly for this video is not one of those permitted exceptions. The person he hit was not even looking at him. The person was not charging at him. He was not trying to defend himself by hitting him. He hit him without any provocation, as we can see from the video. And as far as I'm concerned, the consequence for that hitting should also fall on the gentleman. And from the video, we can see who he is. I don't need AI to know who that is. And so any person who has to go through the process of unmasking him to, share to the public and all of that is unnecessary. Let's just treat it for what it is. Potential crimes have been committed. Accused persons should be arraigned before court and they should go through the process.
So, wait, there's that temptation to want to be afraid of what religious tensions can be, and then it will mask accountability or it will mask justice. If there's
which is why I'm saying that because the minister has called for an investigation, it deals with the accountability question. Because the reason why we are seeing this video is because somebody recorded it in a police station, and what we see from the video suggests that something has gone wrong. Because no person, you see, the gentleman, the pastor, is in handcuffs. Someone who is in handcuffs, how was he so available to persons who are not police officers to the point where the person even hit him? You understand? So once the minister is saying that an investigation should be done, it has to be done. And that's how the accountability will come in. Because, there are many officers who could have been in charge of this. They have a supervisor, they are, commanding officers and all of that. Who asked them to bring him to the corridor? Was he inside? Was there any indication? Because I think Kwesi has also mentioned that when he got there were several pastors and imams there. As security persons, they take a cue from even that. They can take a cue from it to say, the way people have started gathering here, maybe we should keep the person away. In fact, there are times when you commit or you are alleged to have committed an offense, the reason why the police will actually arrest you is to protect you. So they should, there are things that they have to consider. What is the standard operating procedure and all this? So the investigation will mark that, and accountability will follow from there. Okay. So let's not belabor the point. Let
me take clearance from Mr. Money. Mr. Money, the suggestion, advice from our good friend to Julius it has to jump you to come to him. Should he take it? If you say yes or no, then we'll proceed to the other topic. I saw him jotting. He swallowed it there.
In all humility.
You just suggestions come, you take them, you filter them.
Okay.
You see what's best for the country.
Okay. All right. Let's go to other matters then.
Oh, I have to address.
What?
Oh, please.
Let me hear you. Let me hear you. What do you want to say?
You see, I think that we should all get a clear understanding of the issue about public confidence in our institutions, and when certain things are done, the effects they have on public confidence, and the responsibilities that are on each of us, and the question whether or not we've all discharged those responsibilities very well. That is why I started on the outset. Kwesi suggested that I'm saying that the public should swallow hook, line, and sinker anything the police. Oh, please, Kwesi. Not every conversation between us must be tensed.
Especially when I'm the one moderating.
There is no such suggestion that the public should swallow hook, line, and sinker what the police put out there. I am one of the people who scrutinizes institutions more than anyone in this country. So I don't expect that institutions should not be scrutinized. The question is how and whether they are proper. And I am very happy to note that he said that when he was at the police headquarters, he saw Alhaji Angola at the police headquarters and he was under arrest. I think that Kwesi's corroboration should put this matter to rest as to who was arrested. Lawyer Kwesi Botchway was counsel for the pastor, right? And Lawyer Kwesi Botchway has made this point clear that there is no such thing as conflict between Muslims and Christians. I agree, 100%. It is individuals who were doing their own thing. But there was a case of misinformation saying that the person who was involved, that individual who was arrested, is not the actual person. When such an issue is put out there, and you speak for a ministry like the Interior, it is important that when that issue is put before you, you clarify. You don't allow that sort of thing to fester.
I think the viewers are in a good position to
whatsoever.
I think
on the media, please.
I think that.
Can I just wrap it up?
One of the things that I like with my viewers is that they are
discerning. You don't need, so let me just wrap it up. Let me just wrap it up in 45 seconds. Let me just wrap. So it is not about that. It is about the responsibility. Oliver should not have gone to the market with a suggestion that the person will not be arrested.
That point has been made.
Then the media should not have gone with an AI picture.
That's
showing people that the person has not been arrested. And so please, I'm glad that Kwesi has confirmed to all of us on this platform that he was at the police headquarters and Angola was under arrest and he spoke with him. Oh, you said Kwesi, Kwesi, you clearly said that you met Alhaji Angola and then you had a conversation with him and he was under arrest. That point is made.
What's the issue?
Then
because you're responding to something he said.
Let me just conclude so he has it.
No, because you're responding to something he says. He says that you don't need that reminder. You don't need that reminder. What I'm saying is, Julius,
will not come back. It's not just okay. You let me wrap it up.
Julius, because you are responding to him, and he's here saying that that's not what he said. You can't wrap it up.
Okay,
do you understand? You can't wrap it up when he says this one.
There are two things here. I said that I saw Alhaji Angola, the police station, and I even interacted with him. The concern about the Ghanaian people that I have seen on social media, on the day the police made the post, I didn't see it because I was in the police station dealing with the issues. The concern is that the photo the police posted is not Alhaji Angola. As to whether or not the photo the police posted...
But when you went to the police station, it was
I want to get where he's going with
as to whether or not the photo the police posted is Alhaji Angola or not, I cannot say. Because I didn't see the face of the person.
But that's where I have a challenge with. What I mean is that once the ministry says that it is not, they can't keep quiet, can they?
No, they cannot.
Social media is concerned. The clarity is needed.
The ministry shouldn't respond to issues. I'm only saying that when some of these issues come up, the ministry should handle it with tact.
Example.
For instance,
what has been
pushing the narrative that it is him. The public is expressing some distrust for law enforcement
when it is actually him.
I was thinking that the ministry would rather call, because don't forget, the ministry has a supervisory insight on the Ghana Police Service. I was thinking that the ministry, being the higher agency, would call for an investigation even into the matter.
When it's apparent that it is
the ministry is taking up the matter to investigate.
That is not
establish
the person.
As to whether or not the photo the police service posted.
When you went to the police headquarters, you said you met Alhaji Angola. He was under arrest.
Okay.
So if it is not the person, why was it a different person?
It's that conclusion that was
no
question.
If
he was not the person, why is he not a different person?
I will not belabor this matter.
If I understand,
if it's a different person, why did you miss the actual person at the police headquarters?
So if I understand, when the public started showing the distrust, the IGP should probe investigation. I don't know, Julius. I want to understand where it's coming from. I
didn't hear what you said.
Since we said the pictures, since you're saying that once that picture came and there's some sort of misunderstanding in the public, the ministry should have called for an investigation as to whether or not it is done.
That's what I think.
That's what you think. That's what he thinks.
That's what he thinks.
He's not saying that's how it should be. That's what he thinks. You have also responded.
I don't have the power to say that's how it should be.
And we're ending this matter. You have also said that the thing was so apparent. There's no need for that.
Apparent. I mean, imagine you are Inspector General of Police.
He doesn't have to imagine.
No, let him imagine.
I don't want to.
He doesn't want to imagine.
You would hear me anyway. Imagine
I'm going to start with you on Adams.
Imagine you are Inspector General of Police, and then you are directed by your boss to investigate what is an apparent misinformation that even children can see. And indeed, you see, the reason why I am emphasizing this point is that Kwesi wants to join in this disinformation campaign. When in actual fact, you cannot say this. Please, no, you cannot say this. Let me just. Please, you cannot. You want to join in this disinformation campaign. You cannot say this. You cannot. But one point is clear: when you went to the police headquarters, you have told us that you saw Alhaji Angola. If a different person was arrested, how did you see Alhaji Angola? That is the question. We should not do this. We should not always bastardize institutions.
But have I said a different person was arrested?
The Ghana Police Service.
Have I said
You are saying that the apparent disinformation should be investigated when you actually saw the actual person who was arrested.
Who has said that?
How can you be saying this?
No, okay. I disputed what the police did.
Not every conversation.
I'm saying that the concerns of the public were.
All right. Kwesi, I'm gonna start with you on Adam. So I think because this matter is under investigation, right? It will still come up for us to discuss. We're ending and going to other matters.
The matter of whether or not it was Alhaji Angola who was arrested.
It's been clear. We're saying that. Listen, if you're interested, you can go to court if the matter is in court. Is this matter going to go to court?
Kwesi Botchway has
will this matter go to court? Julius, will this matter go to court?
Which matter?
This investigation, any part of it, whoever is being investigated.
That brings my attention to the fact that he has suggested that there must not necessarily be prosecutions. I mean, he is a lawyer. He understands that there can be bonding of people, which I said earlier. That the people have been bonded. It's part of the criminal procedure.
Yes, can I
you don't necessarily have...
No, you pass the question to me.
Do you take briefing from your boss before you speak on issues?
About what do you mean? What do you mean?
You know what? We'll end this topic here. Let's go to Adamus. Kwesi, do you know that I've been inviting you to other matters?
What do you mean by that?
I'm surprised that was so.
You see, you are just interested
I've invited you other matters.
I'm not
you are interested in personal attacks, not the issues.
I've called you 2 times. Talk about Adamus.
The minors.
I'll go to Mr. Money. Please mute their microphone. Please mute their microphone. Is it muted? Is it muted? It's muted. Okay. Mr. Money, let's talk about Adamus.
You are saying we should investigate whether it's the person or not.
So?
Because someone
You are rather saying the things you
but
want
you
to
went
say.
to the police headquarters yourself and you saw the person. How can you see the person and still say that we should investigate whether it was the person or not?
Mr. Money, their microphones are muted. Let's talk about Adamus and matters arising. So, if you look at the revocation of the Adamus license and then matters arising, I've had a few people who work with Adamus share concerns that they are quite afraid about the instability of their job, as to whether a takeover, a revamping of it, whatever it is that the ministry thinks it will do after upholding the decision of the Minerals Commission is concerned. Moving forward, I see that Adamus is actually even pushing back. Adamus is pushing back.
At the same time, I think they are open to
for
discussion.
For discussions.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Let me hear you on that matter. How the state had gone about Adamus, the revocation, and then the imaginary consequences thereof. We live in a dispensation of rule of law, and this point should be articulated. And mining operations in this country are governed by the Mining Act of 2006, Act 703, which specifies how mining should be done in this country. The law does not shield anybody who offends, I think, law 703. Yeah, the law does not shield. But at the same time, every money institution has a responsibility, to go by this law. Otherwise, there'll be chaos. Otherwise, Ghana will not have yield any dividend as far as the money concessions are concerned. But at the same time, the application of the MFA has boundaries. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the Minerals Commission, they're all guided by the limit to which they can go in application of the law. It has been alleged, MFA, that Angela Lins, who is the CEO of Adamus, has been on the hitting list. Has been a what?
Has been on the hitting list.
What does that mean?
That he has been a target.
Okay.
Angela Lins has been a target of certain institutions. This is
why.
It's a long story.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a long story.
I wish I had time because it would situate the conversation for me. Yeah.
Politics has come into the fray. That in the past government, Angela was close to certain individuals, certain political figures. But Angela is a businesswoman. And how can you operate a mine in this country and not have any relationship with the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources? How can you do business without having any interaction, any relationship with people in government? But what is happening has broader implications for this country. Ghana is perceived, indeed, Ghana is a leading country in West Africa in terms of mining jurisdictions. Ghana is a beacon of investment as far as Africa is concerned. And what has happened is sending strong signals to the investor community, sending strong signals to Ghanaian investors that nothing will shield you from doing a legitimate business if certain people in certain quarters perceive you in partisan lenses. However, Adamus has indicated its intention to go to court. But at the same time, the company says it's open to discussion, open to negotiation. So it's taking a hard stand on going to court and then indicating your willingness to negotiate are not mutually exclusive. So I believe the time has come.
Yeah, if we do that, because surely the suggestion or my understanding of the reason why they had to the revocation had to happen was the fact that there were breaches of certain provisions of the law. If we allow people to negotiate their way out, what then will be consequences of people's actions? Unless, of course, the company is pushing back at the breaches, they don't agree, then...
Certain allegations were bandied about from the beginning, that Adamus has allowed the concessions to be used by Chinese for Galamsey.
Okay.
And the reaction from the company is that, how can you own a concession and then do Galamsey on your land? Remember, it's not within the bounds of possibility. You own a concession. And at the same time, you are doing Galamsey on your own concession.
Yes.
MFA.
Yeah.
Again, it's also alleged that Adamus had gone beyond his concession and abusing the environment. Again, it was alleged that Adamus also much in terms of royalties, in terms of money participation and all that. One figure has been put out there, but MFA, this figure, according to the company, is not sacrosanct. So there's a need for the state to take a hard look at what is happening in Adamus. This issue has been subjected to expert analysis and synthesis. Money is one of them. And they've come up with their findings. They've listened to both sides. The last minister invested in money, and they had a conversation. At the end of it all, the money holds the view, and strongly, that Adamus deserves a fair hearing. So, MFA, it's not a basket case. I think the state should intervene once again. Sit Adamus down. Where did they go wrong? And the same Mine Law Act 703 MFA, sections 88 and 89, have provisions for restitute. Within 120 days, you have the freedom, you have the latitude MFA to look at areas where you went wrong and rectify any wrong or breaches as far as the law is concerned. Adamus was denied this constitutional provision or legal latitude. So the government has, every issue has two or more sides. One side is that Adamus has violated the mining and minerals law. Adamus also come with his side. So there's a need for a thorough investigation by an independent body to go into this matter. And why to ensure that the investment Adamus has made in the three concessions will not go down the drain. You read the issue of the fate of the workers. Adamus has employed 1,200 workers. Look at the number of contractors who feed on the mine, the number of businessmen and women, the community who use the mine as their means of livelihood. All these questions are lingering. So there's a need to take a hard look once again at what is happening. Again, there's this gender issue which is also so compelling, such a gender issue. This is a woman who has made it, who stands out as far as money is concerned. internationally, she's recognized as the best money entrepreneur in Africa. Again, the Ghanaian angle, the ownership structure of the company. This is a wholly Ghanaian company, Emofa. And she didn't source for money in this country to set up her business. Emofa, all the investments stand the risks of going down the drain. So you can imagine what this young lady is going through.
Who would you roll the responsibility onto? The Minerals Commission, who did the initial investigation, for the minister to uphold, or is a minister's decision that you think should be looked at? At what point should a negotiation have started with the Minerals Commission?
The Minerals Commission started, and they sent a report to the minister, and the minister also, yes, endorsed this report. But the question being raised is that the minister accepted a report of the Minerals Commission with indecent haste. So there's nothing wrong going back and then looking at it, getting some different eyes to look at what happened. And we go to the site to see that whether Adamos is open to the negotiation, what I've got from the company is that yes, but it says we should feel for the investment. We should feel for this woman who's invested so much.
Okay.
And what signals are we sending to the investor community? This is $1 million question we need to answer.
Okay, Kwesi, are you ready to talk about Adamus now?
If you want me to, or if you want.
No, because you're the first person I was inviting to talk about Adamus. So I went for me, Paul.
Oh, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Don't worry, don't mind Julius. Julius is very mischievous, don't mind. But MFA, on Adamus, I am aligned to everything that the Venerable Alfred Money has mentioned. And I think that all that is happening is politics. And you see, Angela List is the owner. She has become just a victim of the politics that is going on. And I am also inclined to believe that indeed she may be a victim of a target or a victim of all the political shenanigans that is happening. Because I have paid close attention to the issues. I have read about the issues. In fact, I have read the report of the Minerals Commission. It's about a 106-page report. I have read everything. I have also read the response of Adamus Resources. And I don't think that the revocation is grounded in law. So the ministry, revokes the license primarily on the allegation of alleged illegal mining, alleged financial regulatory breaches, and corporate community responsibility. But you see, like the former GGA president mentioned, you cannot convert the existence of illegal mining on a company's concession into proof that the company owning the concession has engaged in illegal mining, particularly where there is evidence that the company has repeatedly reported the instances of illegal mining on their concession to the police and law enforcement authorities. When there is evidence to that effect, that the company had reported that some persons have encroached their land, and you convert that to mean that the company owning the concession is involved in illegal mining, I don't think that that is enough gravitas to warrant the revocation of the lease of an individual. Secondly, MFA, I think that the revocation is not legal. In my opinion, I think the revocation is not legal because if you look at the issues, Section 68 of Act 703 deals and prescribes the procedure for the suspension or cancellation of a valid mineral right. Now, let's not forget that the mineral right or the lease held by Adamus Resources was granted and ratified by Parliament. And therefore, because it's a statutorily granted lease, if you want to revoke it, you cannot just wake up and revoke it with an administrative fiat, or as a minister, you issue a ministerial fiat to say that I have revoked your lease. It has to go through a process, and the law has laid down that process. If you primarily look at Section 68(2) of Act 703, the law requires that, and I'll read, that you notify the holder of the alleged breach, give the holder at least 120 days in the case of a mining lease to remedy the breach. And what we are discussing is a mining lease. 3, where the breach cannot be remedied, give the holder an opportunity to show cause and D, only thereafter proceed to suspend or cancel the lease. Now let's ask ourselves, was Adamus given the required 120 days? Because from what we have read in the media, on 21st April 2026, the Ministry of the Minerals Commission recommended the revocation. On 23rd April, 2 days after, the minister accepted the recommendation. The following day, Adamus was informed that their lease had been revoked. And so I don't think...
Because just before you continue, the 120 days,
yes,
would it be between the owner of the concession and the Minerals Commission or the Ministry of Lands and Resources? Because as I've come to understand it, the Lands Ministry would just they only uphold the decision by the Minerals Commission.
Yes, but the question we need to ask is that the holders of the mineral rights, were they given
that
the opportunity, the 120 days as required by law, or the opportunity to rectify the breach, if indeed there was any breach? No. From what we have read, they were not given any opportunity to rectify their lease. But you see, MFA, what makes this matter more sensitive and more serious is the fact that these concessions are located in the constituency of the lands minister. Yes, in Crawford. So the leases are located in the constituency of the lands minister. It even raises the question of conflict of interest. That is it the case that the minister has some interest in those concessions, and that is why the minister doesn't want those concessions to be handled by Adamus Resources
but
or its
the
owner.
minister that did the investigation.
Who upheld the investigation?
He only upheld the decision of the Minerals Commission.
Who issued the administrative?
seal.
Who issued the administrative fiat? You understand? So it was the minister's decision. In fact, it was the minister that called for the investigation. And so I think that when matters of this nature pop up, in recent times, our mining industry has not been, in the best form and shape. And so I think that this matter has to be handled properly. You cannot say because you don't like somebody or because you think somebody is causing problems for you in your constituency, and so you want to also show the person where power lies, and that you through some opaque and some indecent haste and in an ambulance mode, you take steps to revoke the lease of a person. I think that these things raises some reasonable suspicion. So and today you have people.
How many pages the Minerals Commission? The Minerals Commission report.
106.
Did it cite this concerns you are raising?
No, it didn't.
That is conflict of interest.
No, it didn't.
So
but why would they cite that when they are drafting the report to the minister? Isn't it the minister who is supposed to make the final decision?
Yeah,
and the minister in this case is involved in the conflict of interest matter. The point I'm making is that the concessions or the leases that have been revoked is located in the constituency of the minister.
That's your observation.
Oh no, that is a fact.
That's a fact.
Yes,
I agree.
That's a fact.
But I mean, when they made him minister, they knew that he's
a fact.
an MP.
And the point I'm making here is that because the concessions are located in the minister's constituency, and it's the same minister who is vested with the authority to revoke these concessions. And considering the fact that there are suspicions, I have heard the chief of Salman speak on radio, say that the minister, in fact, I don't want to go into the issues of what he said, but he was trying to make the analysis that there are some chieftaincy undertones regarding this matter. And it seems from what he was saying that the minister is aligned to certain chiefs, and the owners of Adamus Resources are also aligned to certain chiefs. And so it looks like there's some power play and some ego,
This goes to confirm what Mr. Money.
Yes. And this is a fact because the chief is out there speaking. The chief is out there speaking. I don't live in Salman. I've not been there before. This is the chief of the community speaking. That he thinks that there is some chieftaincy undertones and there is some personal issue between the owners of Adamus Resources and the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. And so in this circumstance, I think all what we can do is to call on the president and stakeholders like the DJ,
it shouldn't end there. There should be further conversations.
I think that stakeholders should go into the matter to actually come to the logical conclusion if indeed the owners of Adamus Resources have breached any provisions of law and they have been granted the 120 days period as required by law, and
But
they have not been able to rectify their issues, so be it.
When they go to court, don't they have a right to go to court?
They have the right to
court,
go to court, but you see, coming from a very a corporate perspective, you do not want to always litigate with the government. And so in circumstances like this, you may want to embrace dialogue. Alfred Money informs us that they are open to dialogue. I think that the government should also leverage on dialogue to ensure that a logical conclusion is drawn. MFA, as I land, with your indulgence, just 1 minute. You see, I have also read on social media, it looks as if because Chairman Wontumi was convicted along the same lines. If you look at the allegations against Adamu's resources, that some people were engaged in illegal mining on their concession, and you take the case of Chairman Wontumi, there are some similarities. I do not think, I have seen this consensus on social media, I do not think, and I hope that it is not the intention of government to try to equalize, to say that, okay, if Chairman Wontumi has been convicted for this, then let's also find a way to also convict somebody just to, make up for. There are some conspiracy theories. It may be true, it may not be true, but I'm saying that this.
Okay, let's discuss the facts before we go to conspiracy theories. How about that?
Oh no, there are so many conspiracy theories.
Let me go to other panelists to discuss the report. So we'll go into
Julius metamorphosed from Ministry of Interior to Ministry of Lands.
Come again.
Julius,
why do you ask?
Because I'm sure you'll be defending the Ministry of Lands.
Why do you speak? I know that. No, let me go to Lom. So again, and Kwesi rightly said, it was the question I noted down, that if the findings of the Minerals Commission is pointing to a certain form of illegality, why just a revocation and not proceeding to what the law says when a person is found culpable of illegal mining?
But that's the thing. For all we are discussing is based on what we have. In other words, information that's in the media. Kwesi says he has read, for example, the report or the response of Adamus to, let's say, the report that was issued by the Minerals Commission. I haven't seen Adamus Resources response. So I can't speak to that. However, as he also rightly mentions, the law allows room for dialogue. And in fact, it's clear that the law allows, in terms of the dispute resolution mechanism, for the parties to dialogue. They can always do that. In fact, even when you are in court, we have without prejudice discussions all the time on the side. If we can reach a resolution, you end the litigation.
Why did they do for Chairman to me then?
Well, when it comes to criminal matters, there are different dimensions. Some type of charges you can't even settle.
Dialogue,
yes,
okay.
Especially if the person is a political opponent.
But some you can. But in any case, in this matter, we are not talking about a criminal case, MFI. We are talking about a civil administrative matter. The revocation is not related to the criminal matter, even though there's a criminal element that can come in. For example, with respect to allowing maybe, assigning the right without permission and all of that. It's possible. But here we are just talking about the fact that the minister has gone ahead based on the recommendation of the Minerals Commission to revoke it. It is an administrative decision which is subject to review by a court, but it is civil in nature. You get what the angle I'm coming from. So let's look at it that way. Now, by law, Adamus also has a right to go to court. And for me, I think they should do that whilst the matter is pending anyway, whether they want to do dialogue or not, because they have to preserve their rights whilst the matter is under consideration, because you know that there is no guarantee for, let's say, an amicable resolution based on dialogue. So you can proceed to court whilst with them, because like I said, it is the standard practice for us in our profession to be having these conversations on the side anyway.
He has actually been up.
And the reason I say this is because, you see, as I said, what is in the media is what we know. I don't know all the reports that have issued, the responses and all of that. But it is a question of fact whether Adamus paid fees he was required to pay on time. It's a question of fact that can be determined when it gets to court. Whether, for example, they says that the Mining Inspectorate Division conducted inspections, gave it certain activities to undertake and do so by specific times, whether it did so or not by those times, whether it allowed persons who are, galamseers to use this concession. These are all questions of fact that can be determined through a process. As we speak today, The Minerals Commission, being the regulator, is saying that from our report, from our investigation, our finding is that this is what you have done. And that is by law what they are required to do and to recommend to the minister. And the minister is also saying, I've read a report from the regulator and I can understand everything that is in there. On the basis of that report, I'm proceeding to do the revocation. So I'm saying that they should follow the law, whether the 120 days was complied with or not. Whether
that's easy to verify, or
easy to verify whether they paid fees they were required to pay or not, whether they comply with directives that were issued by the Mine Inspectorate Division and all of that. Let's not make this matter a conversation around whether local content or foreign content. Just recently, revocations of foreign of licenses or leases by foreign companies were also done quite recently. So we are looking for companies, Ghanaian, international, which have whatever, who are ready to do business in Ghana according to the laws of Ghana. That is it, bottom line, which means that Ghanaian or not Ghanaian, you go through the process. But I can see from at least what is out there that the ministry has put out, that this is not new. It's not like these issues related to breaches or so on have just arisen. It's a matter of time. They've gone over different years and back and forth and all of that. So whether opportunity to remedy and all of that has been gone through, again, I say it is a question of fact which can be determined when Adamus chooses to assert its rights. So that should be the focus as far as I'm concerned. Now, we are talking about a regulatory action, which, as Kwesi also mentions, potentially has criminal elements. Those criminal elements are dependent on the administrative part. So the earlier that can be resolved and dealt with, the better. And that's why I'm saying that it seems that we make a lot out of a very, very little.
Okay.
We make a lot out of very little. They should assert their right. So that's why when we are doing the newspaper review, you said that statement by Imani Franklin Kujo is a bold statement.
Yeah.
Because when you say that the accusations against Adamus are false, it's a very categorical statement.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Questions of facts have to be determined by a court of competent jurisdiction. Have you breached it or not?
Then we make progress.
We make progress. Like really, let us not go into politics and whether it is, somebody's from some. First, it's not even a conflict of interest. The Minister of Lands is the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in the entire Ghana. Whether it's in his constituency or not his constituency, he's the only person who has the legal authority to accept the recommendation or otherwise of the Minerals Commission.
Okay.
There may be some local politics dimensions. I haven't heard about that. But as far as the law is concerned, only the minister can take the decision, and that is right to do.
Okay, Julius, you'd be the one ending this topic for us. So, yeah.
Minister's constituency.
Let me hear from you.
Influences judgment.
You see, because that is still going, let me start with that. What is conflict of interest? Conflict of interest is a question of fact. And so if I allege conflict of interest, I must be willing to disclose the fact which ground the conflict of interest. The critical question becomes whether a concession being in somebody's constituency grounds a claim of conflict of interest. I think we all know the conclusion to that already. So the conflict of interest claims, please, let's dismiss them. The minister is not conflicted on the matter as far as the facts that you are alleging are concerned, if the fact is only that a concession is in his constituency. Unless you are able to disclose further facts, which will show that he stands in a position to make some private gain from the decision he's making, then the conflict of interest is not grounded. You can't just be on television and tell people that, something is in somebody's constituency, conflict of interest. If that becomes the case, do you know the number of conflict of interest cases we'll be dealing with on our hands on a daily basis?
I think you have dismissed it, so let's
dismiss that. Then the second issue of it is not possible. I say it with all respect to the senior citizen, that someone will engage in illegal mining on a concession they have been lawfully given. I don't think it's correct. Because the law has regulations that guide how a lawfully acquired concession is supposed to be run, including certain prohibitions. One of those prohibitions is whether you can allow other people or assign that concession to other people.
But Kwesi tells you that the report said there was encroachment, that they had made those concerns known.
The report did not say there was encroachment. The report says that they have assigned.
No, Adamus pushed
the
back.
response,
No,
yes.
The response by Adamus.
That they've actually reported to the police.
Kwesi, you know what? You spoke for close to 15 minutes.
I have not interjected.
I allowed you to speak.
I just
make your point.
unless it is a complete lie, which I'll verify later. Let's make progress.
Adamus's response is that they did not assign, but the findings of the Minerals Commission is that there has been an assignment to foreigners. And you know the facts that makes the commission to believe that Adamus has a relationship with the people Kwesi wants us to believe are encroachers. Those people were arrested. And it was this company that went to bail them because they work for them.
No.
Unless you are saying that they are just being charitable and standing surety and bailing people, which is possible. But how probable is it that someone will be bailing encroachers on their property? It's possible. It's possible. But in the realm of reasoning, we want to deal with what is more probable. Is it very probable that I would go and be bailing people who are essentially encroachers on my property? I leave that to the audience to decide.
Wouldn't it be a nice place to end? As you are leaving it to
you'll be most unfair.
No, I will not be most unfair.
You'll be most unfair.
I've always said that the time on issues are not equal. They are very equitable. Today you've had a lot of time.
At least if it's not
time. You've had a lot of time. I've been very fair.
At least if it's not equal, it should be quite substantial.
No, it's equitable. It's equitable.
Yes,
because you have had a lot of time. But just 30 seconds.
Yeah, let me just wrap up. So, how possible is it? I mean, in the realm of possibilities, anything can happen. But how very probable is it that I will go bailing out people who are encroachers on my property? Would I do that? How probable is the audience should look at that? And the question of, I think I've addressed that already. Let me go to the next issue of the activities and the notice periods. I want Adamus to go to court. The reason I want Adamus to go to court is because I always say that on matters of the law, those of us who aspire to have anything to do with the law, our fidelity should first be to the law. The question of 120 days notice. There are questions there that I want the court to clarify for me. One, if the issue can be remedied, the law, as Kwesi Botchway rightly stated, says that 120 days, you should give at least 120 days and give them opportunity to remedy. Or if it is not something that can be remedied, then you give them an opportunity to show cause why it should not be revoked. It is my view that the petition that they have sent and the review process and the opportunity for them to actually make their case is an opportunity to show cause. The next question is, after showing cause, is the 120 days still required? Okay. I want the court to answer that question. Because there's a claim that they have not been given notice, and for that matter, it is the view of the ministry that these infractions are criminalities.
We look forward to Adamus going to court.
So in that situation where they cannot be remedied, I would want the court to answer whether upon them giving their response.
So, review segment is done. I've got a feature I want to, Julius, and unfortunately, all of you, I don't have a second. Lomnukwa Ahleja is lawyer, lecturer, and energy expert. I've also had Kwesi Botchway. He's a lawyer and he speaks for the NPP. I've also had Mr. Afel Money, who's been the former president of Ghana Journalists Association, and I have also had Julius Kwame Anthony, press secretary to the Ministry for Interior.